Hi everyone, how are you? I am Associate Professor Dr. Sara Chinnaswami from Malaysia. I hope all of you are staying safe during the COVID-19 outbreak. And in my country, Malaysia, we're having movement control order since 16th of March. And I hope that the same similar situation that occurring in your country as well. So in this lecture, I will be focusing on the fake news and Southeast and information manipulation in Southeast Asian countries. And I hope with this guest lecture, you will gain more knowledge on the existing practice of media system in some of the countries in Southeast Asia. Perhaps you can compare what is happening, what phenomenon is happening in Malaysia with your country as well. A short, brief introduction about myself. I am Dr. Sara Chinnaswami, political and social media analyst from Malaysia, who actively engage in social media discussion and political discourse movement in the country. And I always provides comprehensive and analytical research apart from forwarding valuable feedback on the movement and development of political happening in the country and also a social media movement and development to the government. And as you know that today in many countries, it doesn't matter whether it's a Western country or Southeast Asia or any countries in the world now, we are actually being affected strongly due to the exponential growth of social media platform in technology era. And most of the countries are dealing with the spread of fake news and news manipulation. And we could see that this kind of phenomenon is not only occur during the campaigning period, which is heading towards electoral conduct in any countries, but also a crisis moment like natural disaster or even a COVID-19 outbreak, which we are facing at the moment. And while the internet is actually providing a forum for democracy tool in some of the countries in Southeast Asia, it also becoming a tool for fake news, misinformation, and political hoax. I don't want to go very detailed on this misinformation because when we talk about misinformation, of course, it consists of a variety of content here, which is misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And we could see that many countries in Southeast Asia, for example, like Malaysia, Singapore, um, Indonesia, and also Cambodia, and these are the countries, even they came out with their own media digital legislation that could control the flow and information circulation on the social media platform. To what extent it's actually really challenge and threat the ruling government. At the same time, we could see that due to the exponential growth of fake news, it's really affected mainstream media landscape in a bigger scale. And it's very much depending how each country in Southeast Asia is actually handling their media landscape. In some countries, we could see that mainstream media have been controlled by the state and also by the government, or also individual that strongly link to the ruling government as well. And at the same time, we could see how the internet is actually gained the popularity, gained the attention from the people when the media is reporting one-sided and not practicing a balanced reporting. And you could compare the context of your country with the other country in any case of studies when comparing the media system in terms of governance and also in terms of how you are actually monitoring the information circulation among the public. Well, when we talk about public here, it's not only remaining as a public itself. We could see there are a lot of stakeholders who are involved under the roof so-called public. We have civil society movement, we have bloggers, we have independent news portal which getting their fund and the ownership from international hands, and also we have middle class people, neo middle class people who are very much active on social media platform. At the same time, we have the rise of digital youth in Southeast Asia countries because these people are actually emerging as a younger voters in many countries. And we could see, for example, in Malaysia, we have we have reduced the age for voting from 21 years old to 18 years old. So these are the elements that actually involve in the factor of public. And we could see that the internet is actually um, playing a very much important role when we talk about electoral conduct or even during any crisis. I would like to highlight you about the situation now that we are facing. The COVID-19 is actually, we call it as a pandemic, and I would prefer to say it as an infodemic because it somehow it led to false information, and we could see exponential growth of information about COVID-19 outbreak on the social media platform. And sometimes it is very difficult for us to compare which one is the reliable source and which one is not reliable source. And Twitter is one of the example. When you put hashtag of COVID-19, there are a lot of information that coming along when we wanted to know about what is happening on COVID-19 outbreak. And most of the fake news is actually contain incorrect data and provides false information and also could include about immediate remedy. So this could detrimental effort to efforts actively taken by World Health Organization or even health ministry in your country or in any country to curb the spread of outbreak. And we could see that some of the posts is actually quoting, for example, like China experts, US experts, and we really need to check those information whether it's been really been reported or been quoted in that particular web page. So these are the things that are very important for us to looking at the moment of we are fighting on the COVID-19 outbreak. And in Southeast Asia, mainly we could see that information manipulation has been increasingly used as instrument to influence public behavior, polarize the society, and sometimes could create disorders among the people. When we could see that some political candidates, they are actually raising the popularity and support through the social media platform. And I'm giving you example. You could Google even my name, Sara Chinnaswami, where I actually have come out with one journal article on how the social media platform been treated as a political hatred tool when you are confronting a general election or presidential election or even by state election that caused by any member of parliament passed away or cases where they are jumping the parties. So we could see that many election in the past years, back 2 to 3 years, we could see many information manipulation has been happen during the pre and also during the electoral time. And at this election period, we could see that it features deliberate lying along with trolling and also fake accounts that comes along which misleading and micro targeting. And we could see here that the flow of manipulated or menacing claim also been affected. The way of journalists produce the news and how citizens are engaged to each other, especially on online participation. And this is the way how the digital democracy is actually been happening at the moment. And we could see that in many countries, in many countries, for example, like Myanmar, or even in Malaysia, and also in Indonesia, where the internet is actually becoming a democratic blueprint for them to highlight or express their political freedom, which they are feel not very happy with any kinds of information that's happening regarding the government, especially on the part of they really wanted to have transparency, accountability in terms of getting the information. And it is actually very obvious that we could see that when lead to a election day, Facebook example has invested significant resources to remove accounts and pages which is related to their, which is really violated their policy. I could even give you example of the COVID-19 outbreak where many social media giants companies actually they had a problem to control the spread of the fake news at the beginning. And we could see Twitter has come out with their own measurement. Google, they have come out with the Google Discovery, and Facebook, they came out with the labeling, and they are actually playing the social responsibility in order to curb the spread of the fake news, because this pandemic is not only affecting the people but also impacting the the media landscape in any countries. And at this time, as people are actually very thirsty and they wanted to know what is actually happening, what is the actual situation, how many death, how many been affected due to the coronavirus outbreak. So these are the most important things that we really need to know. In all my uh, meditation, I always highlight about the importance of the media literacy. At the same time, the spread of misinformation, which we need to have a strong presence of active fake checkers to stop the misinformation. And we could see that a lot of strategies and also suggestions that been proposed how to curb the fake news. And definitely the first things that we need to do the active fact checker. And when we talk about the fake news, for example, we could see that any information that we are getting, well, it's that include even professional group as well, and we need to try to avoid to becoming a member of friends of friends in any portal, and try to get the information from legitimate sources like Ministry of Health, or from World Health Organization, or even from mainstream media outlets. So when I'm saying about the mainstream media outlets here, of course, the credibility is being questioned. How credible the reporting of mainstream media in our country? And in many countries, we could see that there are different way of how they are treating uh, their media landscape, for example. And some mainstream media been shaped by the factor of historical, post-colonial factors, where they have to really give a pose that that really to unite. to harmony the people in a such way where the country has a different ethnic lines, where this is very important, where the media is actually playing the political economy role with the model of developmental journalism here. And if the country has a good credential and credibility of mainstream media reporting here, definitely the social media platforms, it won't gain the popularity, and definitely people will turn back to the mainstream media um, to read what kind of information that been posted regarding the COVID-19 outbreak. And what I would encourage at this time is sometimes we need to avoid over encouragement of sharing information. Sometimes we wouldn't know where that particular information is actually right information. Sometimes we wouldn't know that, oh, this kind of remedy is really needed, or should I share within my relative, within my family members. So we really need to avoid this kind of over encouragement of information sharing. And I'm actually very proud to see, for example, India example, for example, they have come out with the WhatsApp, which is something that very new for us to see that what is happening. So it's something that really people wanted to see what is happening, for example, in terms of the how many people been affected, how many death, and is there any vaccine that they have been found out on this COVID-19 outbreak. So these are the most important things that it would be um, great if we could see all the information under one platform. And for example, the one that been introduced in India on WhatsApp is something that a grade which as a foreigner, when we are looking that, it's something that a really good thing, so that people um, get to inform the information immediately, and they don't have to refer other social media platform in getting the information, for example. And we could see that most of the fake news is actually um, really give impact to the social media companies. And we could see that where WhatsApp, for example, actually WhatsApp in Malaysia, it been playing a very much important role during the electoral time, where it has influential potential to make the people in certain area in political decision making. And now we could see that WhatsApp have been limited in terms of sharing the information to 5 members. So we can't see that as a tool to suppress the freedom of expression here, but it's more to curb the fake news circulation among the people. And we could see that Google, for example, they came out with the Google discovery, where if anything that you wanted to put in a keyword, immediately you will get the information whether it's right um, or wrong, for example. So I feel like what been done in India, for example, the WhatsApp on MyGov Garuna help desk is actually some sort like really helping the citizen to answer a variety of questions related to the COVID-19. So now let's back to the in the age of a social media platform at the moment. So we could see that social media platform, we have variety of information over there. We have Facebook, we have Twitter, we have Instagram, and we have WeChat, we have WhatsApp, and we have to really see the internet penetration in the country. We have to really see the media consumption in the country. At the same time, we really need to see which media is really creating the popularity in terms of information circulation, and how many of them are actually consuming that particular printed media or actually broadcast media. So these are the important things that sometimes the measurement we could see to what extent the information is actually reached to the people. and from there also sometime with a strict information circulation. For example, like during the COVID-19, a lot of info graphic that been displayed not only on social media but also on the mainstream media perspective as well. But today we could see that mainstream media also has a lot of features in terms of social media platform. And of course, in the age of the social media the moment, the factors like easy production of user generated content with the existence of citizen journalists and the fake social media account and rapid distribution of information, online information circulation. And we could see that some of the portal, it has variety of interactive element where people been hours by hours are actually browsing that particular content. For example, one online portal, it could have news, it could have a column, it could have a coffee table talk, it could have a live streaming video where people could discuss everything. So the chances of people of getting the information is actually very, very high, and this really make the internet social media platform becoming a breeding ground of fake news as well. And of course, a lot of measurement they have been discussing over the time. And apart from revising, enacting the new laws, because in some countries we could see that they do have um, um, old media system, and due to the technology convergence with the emergence of um, a variety of application, for example, like TikTok and Insta Story and so on, they need to upgrade the existing legislation on media aspect, because it has to be parallel with the convergence of the technology, so that you could encounter the movement of the people on social media platform at the same time. It is that particular fake news. So the fake news actually, it's really becoming more important during the time of, like as I told you earlier, during a natural disaster or during a crisis pandemic like this, or even during electoral period. Then most important things is the political decision making with the rise of the digital youth in this back 2 3 years. And in any countries from Australia to Malaysia, we could see that the percentage of young voters, digital youth, is actually very, very high at the moment. So of course, we have the civil society group, and also we have the technology companies, measurement, private entities still looking up the fact checking material. And I'm pretty much sure that last year we had the live streaming video in on Facebook, which we thought some of being used as a pre terrorism tool as well, where we wouldn't know whether it's a game or it's something that happened to the people at that time. So we really need some kind of algorithm to curb the spread of fake news, and these are the possible solution to curb the spread of the fake news. And I'm giving you example of Taiwan here, how the country actually exposing the kids, the Taiwan kids at the age of 9 years old in their school with the syllabus of the media literacy. And we could see in many countries now they having a courses, a short courses that introducing to the kids how you really need to utilize the usage of the smartphones example. And the media literacy, this is not only the aspect of the media literacy but also involve digital literacy as well. And the parents, for example, they really need to know about the technology gadgets development. If the parents actually buying a lot of technology gadgets to the children and they do not know how to operate, or they do not know what kind of knowledge that they really need to know how to operate the technology gadget, that is very difficult time for the parents. So in order for you to know what is happening with the usage of a social media platform by your children, you really need to know the technology gadgets knowledge, how to operate that, or even you could see what kind of information that been circulated. So these are the parts that's very important, how we really need to nurture the culture of social media literacy among our people. And this is not something that can be happen very fast. No, it will be gradually happen with the effort taken by the media, by the society, for example, from the school, even from at the level at the university. So we are actually very much dealing, and we always encourage in all my written works, I always emphasize about the importance of the media literacy, not only to the media, but to the people, and also to the political candidates and political party, how you really need to utilize those social media platform in an ethical and responsible way. And I could give you example of many countries. For example, like Malaysia, we recently scrapped this fake news, anti-fake news 2018 Act, because it was seen as suppressing the freedom of expression. But then now again, there's a lot of proposal being made that this law need to be reviewed again, and we cannot see that as a platform to suppress the expression, but more to penalize or to curb the spread of the fake news among the people. And this is a very big responsibility, not only to the government, to the state, to the people, but also to the media as well. And media lifestyle, it's really changed after the emergence of the social media platform. And we could see that today the journalists, they have to refer all the social media platform news before they are heading for news. And we could see how the printed media sales has been dropped, and how the online portal is actually raising the support. And these are the important aspect that we really need to see. And the regulation alone will not solve the spread of the fake news, but also other efforts like penalty, how the media is actually mediating, portraying the issue of the penalty on their local newspapers, on the TV. Indirectly, it could create awareness to the people that you shouldn't post it, that something not ethical, something that create hatred among the people. And as a citizen, we really need to know from which sources we are getting the information, and which types of websites that we are looking at in getting the information. And at the same time, we have to know, we have to compare the information before we post, and try not to make it viral if you don't know from where you get that information. And I'm pretty much sure that many countries, for example, like Indonesia, they have came out with what we call um, uh, face by face of internet monitoring, and also Singapore, for example. And these are the time that we are looking at a situation where fact versus with fake, and it's a very between a thin line between the fact and also true facts, where you really need to looking at. And we could see that um, there are also downside to policing fake news, with some governments actually seizing the opportunity to introduce the censorship on the political control. And it's better to understand the contemporary threat of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And it's actually a fundamental to give priority to the local context in which the digital and political transformation is actually happening. And we could see that, many countries in a political sector, they have a lot of what we call cyber troopers, and cyber troopers definitely they will be employed by certain people to support certain parties. And so all this information need to be really checked, really need to be compared. And I'm sure that all this active participation indirectly is actually enhancing the digital democracy in the country, because it increase the online participation by the people, especially on the Facebook. And I would be happy sharing the contact of Malaysia here, even though we have nearly 34 million of population, but our internet penetration and our Facebook subscribers nearly hitting 24 million. That's mean more than two-thirds of our population are actually using the Facebook in getting their information. And at the same time, also we could see that there are different age range, those who are actually accessing those kinds of platform, where for Twitter, for example, we could see that people who really using the internet, those are fall below 25 years old, and those who are 28 years old to 45 years old, they are actually very prone to the Facebook. And so these are the different age um, gaps that existed in terms of the utilization of the social media platform. Perhaps you could use in your case study not only focusing on India, but also a little bit comparison with how the digital democracy and the online participation that occur in South Korea, in Malaysia, in Singapore, in Indonesia. And for Indonesia, they have come out with access control phase, and Singapore, they have came out with the protection of online falsehood and manipulation act. So we could see that how the social media, apart from this fake news, it's really encouraging digital democracy happening on the internet. And it's very much depending how we are actually utilizing those information for our beneficial, and also to sharing to our relative, friends, and everyone. And in this aspect, the media literacy approach and regulating the legislations is actually very important in circulating the information. And everyone's, under the democracy aspect, everyone has the right to access the information here. And that is the basic fundamental of a democracy in getting the information. And we could see that the wave of digital democracies actually have allowed citizens in Southeast Asia to benefit from the participatory features of the internet. And you could see what was happening in Myanmar, for example, and what was happening in Indonesia, what was happening in Malaysia, and what was happening in other countries in Southeast Asia, with the concept of online political participation, which is giving a very high implementation or higher online participation in terms of political decision making. But when it comes to crisis, a natural disaster, or even a pandemic like this, it is very much depending on the social media platform. And we could see that a lot of information been sharing on the mainstream media, especially on broadcasts in the form of news, in the form of animation. And also we could see that sometimes the pictures speak louder. For example, the infographic that they have been shared on all the social media platform, Facebook, Twitter, where it gives a very perfect illustration to the people, whether the case has been increasing or how many deaths that occur on that particular day. These are the something that really beneficial to the people. And I would say that in my research, I have found that all this kind of information is actually giving impact and also affected the broadening variety of topic that been reported, and it's very much depending on ourselves how we are consuming that information, whether we are comparing the information or we are quoting a secondary source here. So anything that we are reading, we have to refer from the proper website in getting the information, and we are not quoting any secondary sources here. And we could see this is not only happening during the crisis time, but also during a electoral period where how it's increasing informed participation of the people occur on the social media platform, and indirectly it's actually giving what we call a variety of alternative to the people, how they wanted to make their political decision choices. At the same time, it giving room for them to use the social media platform as a tool for them to expose, to express their political expression that happen in many country. And I'm pretty much sure to touch about the formation of the civil society movement, which is very much linked to the non-governmental movement here, and it could be differ if we uh, compare to in other countries. And civil society movement is actually becoming a very active due to the internet utilizations, and internet has becoming a political reformist tool to those who really wanted to voiced out their opinion about the ruling government, what kind of information that really need transparency and accountability, and the demand of information from the states and also from the government. And I believe that um, this civil society is actually catching up very fast with the use of the digital democracy aspect here, and it's the elites who quickly becoming technology savvy, especially the middle class people, and at the same time counterbalancing the push of the people. So these are the challenges that faced by the government and also media landscape in terms of how they are actually putting their information to be reached to the public, because the public today's we have a variety of information. If the information is not coming out in mainstream media, for example, which belong to the government or by the state, they have a lot of variety of information. But what I would like to stress here is the media literacy, where you need to know to compare the information, try to get some um, reliable sources in getting the information before you post or share, without identifying, without checking any information. Please do not share within your family members or even with your close friends. And I would say that digital democracy is actually living through everyone who are using the online media, and I'm pretty much sure digital youth is something that really in the rise due to the political decision making among the people, and it's actually becoming an uncontrolled digital democracy, and it could undermine the quality of the democracy itself. But it's very much depending of how we really utilizing the internet platform, social media platform for our beneficial, and we could make a comparison how the political discourse has been displayed in a Western countries, how it's been displayed in a Asian countries. So these are the aspect we could see. So technology convergence is something that we couldn't stop, but how we are utilizing the technology platform in order to create a good and quality digital democracy among the people. For example, Twitter been used how to strengthen the democratic relationship between the government. So these are the important elements, and sometimes we could see how the people is actually debating the political manifesto in healthy manner. So these are the aspects that we really need to know about the internet. At the same time, fake news and information manipulation in Southeast Asia country, and this is one of the brief explanation that I'm giving you briefly about what is happening in Southeast Asia. And perhaps I hope that this, with this guest lecture, it's really giving you some examples what is happening in other country. Maybe you could compare the context with your country, how your country is actually managing the spread of fake news and the state of media consumption, which media platform been raising the popularity among the people. So these are the important things that we can take a case of example when comparing with the other countries in Southeast Asia. And I'm thinking I'm concluding the guest lecture now, and I would like to say thank you to Prof. Govind Pandey for providing me this opportunity under this Bachman Express. I am truly honored, and I'm very happy to share my knowledge and input on the fake news and information manipulation in Southeast Asia. And in case if you have any questions, you could drop a message to my email ID if you are doing any case studies or you wanted to compare about the context of Malaysia with India or other countries in Southeast Asia, or if you have any suggestion, I would welcome any suggestion through the Facebook as well. And you even could Google and under the name of Sara Chinnaswami and can get some information that have been posted it easily for you to get. And with that regards, thank you very much and namaste to everyone.